I want to help people. I want to do good for other people. What's so bad about that?
Nothing. If you do it by your own choice, and if it's not your primary aim in life, and if you don't regard it as a moral virtue, on those conditions, it's fine to help people if you want to.
Why can't I think of it as a moral virtue? I mean, can't I take some vows for myself for doing all these good things?
Because that would be cannibalism. Because that would mean that you preach altruism, which means not merely kindness, but self-sacrifice. It means that you place the welfare of others above your own, that you live for others, for the sake of helping them, and that justifies your life. That's immoral, according to my morality.
I don't understand why you have to be so harsh in your evaluation of those people. Why call it immoral? Why don't you just say, why don't you say it's a waste of time? Why pass judgment on me?
Because look at the state of the world today.
Yeah.
And you cannot be harsh enough on those who created it. And those who created it are the philosophers of altruism. It's those who preach self-sacrifice, selflessness, self-abnegation, all the anti-self theories, which means anti-man. All those who demand man's sacrifice, they have succeeded, and look at the results in the world.
That's a theory or a way of life or a philosophic idea which is advanced by religions, that we should sacrifice for others.
That's right.
All right, I want to make sure I understand you, Miss Rand. Why is it so... I'm still not quite sure why you're so harsh on those who would sacrifice for other people.
Because I look at them. Just look at them. Because they don't hesitate to sacrifice whole nations. Look at Russia. Communism is based on altruism. Look at Nazi Germany. The Nazis were more explicit than even the Russians in preaching self-sacrifice and altruism, and self-sacrifice for the state, for the folk, the people. Every dictatorship is based on altruism. Now you can't fight it by merely saying it's a difference of opinion. It's a difference of life and death.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be real talented and charismatic, and I'm going to develop a lot of wealth, and I'm going to have a lot of money and a lot of banks, and pretty soon nobody's going to be able to compete with me because I've already purchased all my competitors. And now I have dictatorial power over people, and I can name the price of bacon or price of oil or whatever it is, the commodity I'm selling.
You know, I agree with you that you're very talented and you could accomplish a great deal and already have, but you're talking about the impossible. In a free society, nobody can become a monopolist or a dictator. The system itself, the free market, will destroy you.
How do you explain Mobil Oil, Exxon? How do you explain the prices that they're able to charge for?
I think that they're stupid appeasers who get too little and put up with too much.
Who, the oil companies?
Yes.
You
now, just here you have to let me explain.
All right.
If President Carter's own policy admits that we need the oil company and that the lack of oil is a serious national crisis,
right,
which might lead to the stoppage of all industry. If that is what we need, by what right can we tell those men, go ahead and produce what we want, while we're insulting you, while we're trying to control your business, and while we're not leaving you that which you produced? Today, it's crudely obvious. If we need the oil companies, we have only one of two choices. Either we produce oil ourselves, and no government has ever done it or can do it, or we have to accept the oil companies' terms, pay them whatever they can get. The more they get, the more credit to them, because that means the country needs it and pays them. They produce something needed by the people. And we must say thank you instead of putting or proposing to put a tax on them in order to give the money to the government who does nothing.
if we allow the oil companies to have the power which you say has come to them because we need the oil, it's a question of supply and demand.
Yes.
So if we approach this laissez-faire, as I think you would like us to, free of government intervention,
right,
free of all the force and the regulation and the controls which you abhor.
Right.
All right. Now we've got Mr. Gigantic Oil Baron saying $2.50 a barrel, a gallon. Now here's what happens. The guy, the blue-collar guy who's trying to make a living and feed his kids, can't buy gas for his truck, can't possibly survive in the free marketplace, and suddenly he's on welfare, and he's got to go for a handout, another feature of government that you abhor. You can't have it both ways.
But all this is economic fallacies. To begin with, nobody in a free society, now we're talking about a free market,
yeah,
in which the government doesn't interfere, nobody can become a monopolist. All monopolies are created by a special privilege for government. It's only by an act of government that you can keep competitors out of your field. Therefore, you couldn't become that kind of monopoly. The power you hold as an industrialist is not the power to use force. It's the power of producing something of value.
That people want.
And it's the people who literally control you, because every purchase is a vote in the favor of some businessman and in a way against others. It's the public who decides what they want to buy and what they pass up. If, using your examples, you became this powerful tycoon economically, but you cannot force anybody to deal with you, and you cannot force competitors out of your field, then every smaller man would be in that field because you would have established a price way above the market. You might last a month, if that.
So in other words, if I tried to be Mr. Big and charge outrageously high prices for gasoline,
broke.
I would go broke in your view, because in your leave them alone and let competition handle it approach to civilization, somebody with a better mousetrap, pardon my mixed metaphor.
No, that's a very good one.
All right, would come along and undercut me.
That's right.
Sell at a cheaper price.
But isn't just my view.
You know what I'll do? I'll buy him up the minute I see this bird. I'll buy him. I'll own him on Tuesday.
And where will you get your money when you're not allowed?
I'm already holding them up for $2.50 a gallon.
But they're not paying you. You say they're all going out of business.
They've got to get to work. We're married to a petroleum civilization.
All right. This has been done, you know. It isn't incidentally just my view. That is history. There are people who have tried to corner the market repeatedly, and the result was that they went broke.
You realize, of course, that your critics suggest that this is a pie-in-the-sky, unpractical notion that you're offering to us, and that it sounds wonderful as you gather with the intellectuals at some university, but it doesn't work out on the street.
Quite the opposite. It's in the universities that it doesn't work, because all the leftist ideas and all the misrepresentation of capitalism come from leftist liberal professors. The government's proper function is only to protect your rights, and that means to protect men from those who initiate force. So the government protects the peace, internal peace, that means the policemen. The government runs the army and navy, protection from outside forces, and law court, so that citizens who disagree can settle their disputes peacefully. That's the only functions of government.
All right. So you like an individual who stands up, man or woman, does what he, she wants to do. You have literally liberated millions of people around the world by merely saying to them in your novels, you want to do it? Do it.
That's exactly, that's true. And if I help them, I'm delighted. But I didn't.
Original sin sure takes a beating in your writings, doesn't it?
Oh, it does, yes.
Yeah. You don't think that we're born with sin on ourselves?
Do you?
Huh?
No, I have never met a person who really could believe that.
Well, but see, if you fool around with original sin, there goes the whole idea of Christianity. If there is no original... Oh, wait a minute. If there's no original sin, then what do we need Calvary? Why do we need the crucifixion? From what are we redeemed?
Well, but that is the most important thing. Look at, if you take Jesus Christ as an ideal human being, and that is properly the view of Christians. What do you do with your ideal being? You put him on the cross. You torture him and murder him for the sake of those who are less virtuous. Is that a proper example to set?
For the sake of those who are less virtuous.
Yeah, for the sinners, to redeem their sins,
yeah,
as you
yeah.
say. I think that's a monstrous idea. If I were a Christian, I would resent it enormously. The ideal men are to be appreciated and followed.
And listened to.
And listened to,
But,
not crucified.
But our evil nature makes us rebel against those who would bring us.
Oh, that's a nice excuse, you know. If you commit a murder and then say, but I'm evil by nature, I couldn't help
The
it.
devil made me do it.
Yeah.